everybody, so we're back talking some more Bel-Air on the channel with the 5th episode coming to Peacock this week. I gotta admit, as the episodes of this series progress, I find myself getting more invested in the story, and this episode, episode 5, is no different. As we saw teased at the end of last week's episode, Will's friend from Philadelphia, Trey, is going to come fly out to Bel-Air, and it introduces and creates this interesting dilemma for Will as a character that's sort of the main crux of the episode. Since now that Rashad is dead, is Will going to stay in Bel-Air and continue to build this new life out here, or is he going to return back to his old life back in Philadelphia that he left behind when he was forced to move? Definitely a tough choice. As you see throughout the episode, it's kind of a tug of war inside of Will what he wants to choose, because he does have that life back home in Philly, but he's getting acclimated to all this fun, luxurious stuff in Bel-Air. I mean, let's be real. I'm from the East Coast. I've been to the West Coast. I mean, I don't think it's that tough of a choice, kind of, personally, just my opinion. But as we come to find out throughout the episode, pretty much everybody in the family feels differently on whether or not Will should stay or go. And ultimately, it is Will's decision at the end of the day. It's kind of weird that we don't see Jeffrey at all in this episode after the revelations last week where we realized that he's actually pretty cold as a character. But, I don't know, maybe he's off doing some shady business deals. I don't know. He's not in the episode, really. It felt very deja vu since we pretty much just saw this play out with Will a couple episodes back. But it was fun seeing Will introduce Trey to everything in Bel-Air, between the family, the lavish luxury lifestyle that he lives now. Basically everything that we saw Will's mind completely blown by just a couple episodes back, because it's only episode 5 after all. I do think with how we have Will show Trey everything, it's kind of a great way to showcase just how far Will has come in such a short time, becoming acclimated to this new lifestyle in Bel-Air. Like how the two of them both roll up in style VIP to the Staples Center for a rap concert, already kind of dating the material with it being the Staples Center in this because it's now the Crypto.com Arena, which is a name that I actually hate. I still call it the Staples Center, but as a fan, that's just something I noticed. It's not all happy times though, because inevitably as the episode progresses, you do continue to feel more and more friction between Will and Trey until it hits that inevitable breaking point. These scenes between Will and Trey were probably some of the most tough emotionally to sit through, and that really is a credit to the actors because you can really feel the emotion pouring out in their arguments. Whether or not you're more on Will's side or Trey's side, you both understand both of their points of view. Trey feels betrayed and probably feels some sort of jealousy, whereas Will has doubts, not wanting to uproot his life once again and all the opportunities that he has here in Bel-Air. Both sides make some really great points. It's just unfortunate that both Will and Trey don't come to any sort of mutual understanding, which leads to Trey inevitably leaving Bel-Air early. If you've watched my previous reviews of Bel-Air, and I recommend that you do, you would know that I'm not too fond of the Hillary influencer stuff, but I do think the plotline here involving Hillary is one of the better ones, where she's throwing this sort of celebration / going away party and everyone's invited, giving us our best look yet at all the different influencers that we're going to see her living with, which most of them are pretty cringe. I mean, let's be real here, most influencers are kind of cringe. With Trey pretty much taking center stage with Will in the episode, there's really not as much focus in this episode on Carlton, but Carlton still has just enough time in this episode to still be completely terrible, just after I thought maybe he was potentially turning a corner with the way that everything happened in the last episode between him and Will. Because once Trey spills all the details about Will's situation and how Uncle Phil helped him get out of it at that dinner, it's just off to the races here with Carlton being terrible for the rest of the episode, getting pissed off at his dad for helping Will out of that situation, then proceeding to threaten Will that he'll tell everyone the truth, which is very shady because once he tells all that stuff to Will, he starts to try and put his moves back in again on Lisa, right in front of Lisa too, which made it even more despicable in my book, but it made it more satisfying when Lisa shoots him down when Carlton does try to go for a kiss later, because screw Carlton. I mean, he's horrible in this show, and I'm glad that Lisa stuck by her guns here and she's gonna continue to not like Carlton and probably is still Team Will. Speaking of Lisa though, we know that all those comments that Uncle Phil made about the police was going to upset some people, predominantly Lisa's dad, who's the chief of police, as we see Uncle Phil get pulled aside by him at the concert, and they're throwing thinly veiled threats at him when it comes to his campaign that he's running. I don't know, it sounds like there's going to be a lot of drama behind the scenes with all this political campaign aspect stuff with Uncle Phil. I don't know if he's really going to pull out of this. We've also had some inklings here and there of Vivian trying to start up painting once again because she put it on the back burner for so long, and it seems like between the painting and the other stuff in this episode, we're kind of setting up some other juicy details down the road, potentially romantically, since we see her going to talk about art with some mysterious person, and that mysterious person is Michael Ealy. Michael Ealy, I mean, most people know who Michael Ealy is. Barbershop, Think Like a Man 1 and 2. He's a very well-known actor, and most people find him pretty attractive. I mean, hey, I don't blame him. Come to find out, he's a really huge fan of all the art that she's put out in the past, and he's a really big fan of her in general. Maybe a bit too much, because I'm feeling a bit flirtation here. It seems like he's being very heavily flirtatious, so I don't know. I mean, maybe that could be a potential plot thread later on between the two of them. I mean, you don't bring Michael Ealy into this role for no romance, right? Now, it was heavily implied in the last episode with Ashley, kind of her exploring her her sexuality. It was kind of a point of contention in the comments section. I don't really think it was that big of a deal, but I do think it is done in a respectable way once again in this episode. It's not pushing in one direction or the other, it's just Ashley asking for general advice, whether it be from the influencer that we hear about at the party, or even Hillary, as Hillary is talking to her about it as well. And I'm glad that she's given that reassurance that no matter what she decides, whether she likes girls, boys, both, it's really not a big deal at the end of the day. I think that is nice to have that reaffirmation there. As we come to a close on the episode, we do get the final decision with Will talking to his mom, and he does inevitably decide to stay in Bel-Air and not move back to Philly. I mean, that's kind of obvious. The show's called Bel-Air. It wouldn't make sense for him to go back to Philly. But still, it was nice to see Will make that decision. I'll just be intrigued to just see how much more Philly is incorporated into the main storyline, because he's not going to go back and there isn't that threat anymore of Rashad. I don't know, though. I feel like that's still going to be a lingering thing in the background here between the Rashad stuff. Jeffrey's not even in this episode. I don't know. I feel like we're going to continue to see more of that in season 1. This isn't the end of that or anything. But yeah, overall, pretty good episode in my book. I mean, I don't think it was as good as the last episode in my opinion. Make sure you share your thoughts down below when you do get to check out the episode on Peacock. It'll be out on Peacock very soon. Do you like the episode? Not like the episode? Also, share any thoughts or theories you may have and where you think we're going to go next episode. Either way, thank you guys as always checking out the reviews. I really appreciate that. Make sure to leave a like on the video and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so update movie reactions, unboxings, and more. But next time, see you guys later.